Hey, it's Captain Roger. Let's go for a walk. We're going to spend one last day talking about our friend, Jacob. He's walking home after 20 years away. And when he does that, there's this weird thing that happens in his story. We're told that as he walked on his journey, the angels of God met him. And when he saw them, he named that place Mahanaim, which means the place of two camps. I guess we presume that he means his camp and God's camp, which he thought must be there because there were the angels there, but no one really knows for sure. All we know for sure is that angels of God met him while he was walking. And after this, Jacob sent messengers and presents to his brother. Now, remember, he had left his brother on some pretty poor terms. In fact, his brother was planning on killing him as soon as it could be conveniently arranged when Jacob took off. And now, God told him to go home. So here he is, headed straight on into his brother's territory. Hang on while I cross the street. This got him thinking. He split his family and his herds into two camps, two groups, in case his brother came to attack him. He figured that way, at least some of them would get away. And then he prayed to God. Said, "Hey God, you remember you promised all those years ago that you'd be kind to me and care for me and protect me. Well, I need that protection because I'm going to meet my brother and I'm scared." Now you think he would be reassured by the fact that even just walking around, he had met the angels of God right there near him. But still, it's good self-recognition to know that you're scared and you need a little extra encouragement. So that night, after he'd set his family and his servants and his children and his herds all up in these two camps, he kind of fell back a little bit. Hung back at the camp they'd been in the day before. And he sat there alone thinking about meeting his brother until a man showed up. And somehow, we're not told how, egged him into a wrestling match. And the two guys, they fought, they wrangled all night long. And Jacob, he just wouldn't give up. He absolutely refused to give up. Finally, the man threw a move on him that actually dislocated his hip. But even then, Jacob was still not going to give up. At this, the man offered him a blessing. He said, "Hey, you've been called Jacob, but from now on, people are going to know you as Israel because you have wrestled with God." That's what Israel means. It means one who wrestles with God. And commentaries tend to say this was to show that Jacob needed to learn to rely on God's strength instead of his own. But frankly, I'm not so sure. See, God told him to go home. He gave him very specific directions as to what he should do. But the next day, after he met with his brother, who met him with open arms, by the way, and invited him home, Jacob still turned aside and went to a nearby region instead of going where God had said to go. And that did not turn out so well. I guess what I'm getting at is sometimes we refuse to walk with God. Sometimes we just go close to where he says, but we don't actually quite go where he says. I'm not saying that's okay, but I'm starting to learn that walking with God is always a process. Our lives don't stick to the middle of the path very well. Instead, we're like one of those dot diagrams in those family circus cartoons where little Billy's trying to walk from the front door to the kitchen but ends up going into every other room in the house and then missing dinner. Yeah. It's like we seem to fight against doing the things that we should until we see for ourselves what happens otherwise. I wonder why it's so hard for us just to walk with God and trust him. I don't know. I need to finish this walk. Grace and peace to y'all today.